G'day, Steeler Nation. Welcome back to Steelers Nation Australia. Something different today. I'm going to do a bit of a podcast with a bloke I know from the comments. You might know him as well. That's why I'm wearing the headphones. His name's Brendan, and we're also going to be here to discuss Steelers, free agency, quarterback talk, draft talk, stuff like that, because things are heating up. And there's Russell Wilson, there's Kenny Pickett, all these kind of things. My good mate Brendan here reached out to me via Twitter and said, "Can I come on the show?" I said, "Why not? Let's talk Steelers." So I'm going to bring in Brendan, who's been a long-time follower of Steeler Nation Australia. First of all, thank you for being on my channel, and thank you for being in the comments. All these things. Every time I see you comment, it's like always, let's go Steelers. How are you, Brendan?
Oh, I'm doing good, man. How are you?
Very well. It's 9:47, so I kind of just woke up about half an hour ago. But that's the life of the way I live. I'm doing awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to find out though. First of all, before we get into the Steelers stuff with Russell Wilson, these things, and hopefully I can get this video out today, being your Sunday, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because he might sign by tomorrow.
Oh.
How did you become a Steelers fan overall?
Well, I wish I was a Steelers fan like in the 2000s, so I can actually watch them won 2 Super Bowls. But
Mm-hmm.
I started watching Steelers like in the 2010s era. I think
Mm-hmm.
why I became a Steelers fan, my grandpap actually every time I see him for like a visit and everything, and he always talk about Steelers. He'll talk about some certain plays. He'll talk about the players like that, and he also talks about certain games, and that's why it's like in my head, I'm like maybe I should watch Steelers football. And ever since I became a Steelers fan for like a while now, and it's been amazing. A little stressful, but it's been amazing so far.
Did you see the Super Bowl 43? Like, were you alive or a young kid? How old are you, Brendan?
So I'm 22 years old. I was born May 18, 2001. So I was a little kid when they won Super Bowl
It
40
was
and 43.
7.
I might be 7 years old when they won Super Bowl
Right.
43, but I'm not 100% sure about that.
So you're not too sure if you watched it back then, with James Debo Harrison running down the sidelines. You don't know. It would have been 7 or 8, right?
Yeah, 7 or 8. At the time, I didn't watch Steeler football by then. I was still too young. I didn't know the sport or anything like that. But I saw the videos and the highlights of
Mm.
each of the Super Bowls, and it just inspires me out. It's like eye open. You know what I mean? Like it's awesome to see what they did.
Have you gone back and watched, of course, 40 and 43?
Oh, I did. I watched
Yeah.
both of them. It was incredible.
That's a good thing too. Whenever we're feeling down and there's friends
Hmm.
not going our way or we're not winning, we can always go back and watch 6 of those.
Oh
Right?
yeah.
Browns fans or Bengals fans, you losers, zero, absolute zero. There's no chance you're going to go back and watch LA Rams versus the Bengals because you lost. Like I find that stuff funny. We can go back and watch like today. Like I could just take off work, call in sick, and put on Super Bowl 43 versus Arizona Cardinals, Santonio Holmes. I don't know how we did it. Catches and also James Eber Harris running down sideline, and we go, that's pretty awesome, right? So
Hmm.
we have that. We have that, right? We feel good about that. But we are here to talk about Steelers football that is, I guess, current. What is your overall, maybe theme, or what's your, I guess, thing that's standing out right now that is happening with our Steelers team? A lot of changes recently. Trubisky gone, they're cutting the center, right tackle, all those things, and Presley Harvin gone, Peterson gone, and all those moves, good moves for the club.
I'd say most of them were good moves on Mr. Trubisky, Chukwueze for and Keanu Neal and Mason Cole. Those moves were expected to happen. I mean, we wish them the best of luck on where they go into their
Mm-hmm.
NFL careers, but I think it was time for them to like move on afterwards. Preston Harving, I was 50-50 with that move. I understand why they did it because they need a punter that was consistent, got always consistent with their punts. But I thought he could do that, but at the same time, there was some inconsistency from that. But I understand that move. The Patrick Peterson one kind of made me upset a little bit because I thought, in my opinion, I thought they would move him at safety or maybe at
Mhm.
slot corner because of his age and stuff. Like, I think he can still like ball out for like another year or two if you put him at the right position. But I guess the Steelers just want to get younger in that position.
Yeah, they must have some sort of a plan. And the funny thing is too, like we talk about trusting Omar Khan, but at the
Hmm.
same time, nothing against Omar Khan, but he did bring in Peterson last year. He brought in Robinson last year, and they were seen as good moves. And the funny thing is, now they're seen as good moves, kicking them out. But
Hmm.
they tried him there. They hope to get more, maybe more production from Peterson, more production from Robinson. The Matt kind of offense didn't really work with Robinson how it was. I liked him. I thought he was doing okay, like
Hmm.
some blocking skills, getting some third down catches, that kind of stuff. But it feels like in both scenarios with the cornerback position and also slot receiver or receiver number 3, they're going to go another direction. And like you said, they're trying to get younger or whatnot. I would have been okay with it too if Peterson can come back. I'm not even sure now what team would even try and pick up Peterson because he had a 2-year deal with the Steelers. He was now 32 to 34. So around that age, he's going to start to probably, maybe look into retirement. Is there anyone else that has every move so far that have been cut made sense to free up more cap?
Yeah, I mean, most of them did make sense. The one player I'm surprised that has not been cut yet is probably maybe Dan Moore and Levi Wallace. Now, granted,
Mm.
Levi Wallace did went on the Good Morning Football yesterday or Friday, and he said, and there's hints that he probably won't return to the Steelers next year because his contract is up and he is a free agent.
Mhm.
But for Dan Moore, I mean, he did well in his rookie year, but after the past 2 years, he's been inconsistent with his blocking and everything like that. Now,
But
granted, he does make up for it for each
it,
games, but I feel like it's
yeah.
time for him to like be the backup or something.
He's a funny one as well. Like I think Dan Moore gets a lot of slack as well, but I feel like sometimes he plays a really good game, and then other times he plays a
Hmm.
really bad game. But maybe that's just the way how the NFL works out. But I think Steeler Nation at the same time is like that. The minute they start to struggle or do bad, and they yell at him or whatever. Here's one big question I want to talk about. I talked about the other day on the channel. I talked about Kevin Dotson getting the 3-year deal. Are you unhappy the Steelers didn't work out a contract with him previously, and they traded him away last year?
Well, when they traded him last year, I was like a little excited that they did because he wasn't doing like the best. But when I saw that agreement extension with the Rams, I was like, very unhappy because the Steelers should have kept him at right guard because his rookie
Mm.
year at right guard, he was good in blocking, in the run block and the pass block. But then when they moved him to like left guard, he forgot how to play football, in my opinion. It's like he struggles sometimes and everything.
That's what I want to say because I do look around the Twitterverse, and I really shouldn't get more of my opinions from there, but that's what it is, right? I get all the news from Twitter and everywhere else, and YouTube and comments below, and live chats, or leave comments in this channel. But I saw that stuff. I was like, I'm happy for Dotson to go out and get the contract and get the 3-year, $48 million. He's doing really well because
Oh
I've
yeah.
got I've got two things with it. First of all, he wasn't that good of a player at left guard, and maybe they might have mismanaged him a little bit, right?
Hmm.
At the same time, they had Daniels there, and you had Dotson playing that position. He had penalties. There are times where Steel Nation wanted to get rid of him or calling, I want Dotson gone, gone, gone. The same way they did with Kendrick Green. Get rid of him. But the minute the player starts to succeed and play better, it's like the Josh Dobbs effects. Some of
Hmm.
Steel Nation's like, we want him back. We should never cut him. With Josh Dobbs, he was your fourth quarterback on the roster at the time. Then he had 2 or 3 big
Yeah.
games, and we want to bring him back. I love Dobbs, but it makes no sense. I feel like sometimes that if players do really well and they're connected to be a Steeler, then they're almost like you have to blame the organization. Whereas I don't blame the organization because at the time it didn't work out. You moved on, and this year we're getting back a 4th round, a 5th round for Dotson. Marlowe, I think, had maybe his best, one of his best seasons, and also near the end of the season played really well. James
Hmm.
Daniels, I think, played pretty good. So they're comparing like, oh, Dotson did great. We should have kept him. But at the time, the Steelers made a decision and moved on. I think we should just be happy for the bloke and not put down the organization as you go, oh, we stuffed up. Because many times the Steelers made the right choice in Devin Bush. Have you heard about Bud Dupree, Brendan, recently?
No,
No.
I have not.
No, you haven't heard about Bud Dupree at all. Sorry. Go ahead.
I mean, Devin Bush, I mean, his rookie year was good. Then after that injury in his sophomore year, he was terrible. I'll say 2022, he did okay. He did a little better than his third year, but then I think it was time for him to move on. It was, in my opinion, right now, unless he can revive his career, it's like one of the worst trade up for a player in our history so far. And then for Bud Dupree, we were supposed to get him back last year. I think he won like a 2-year deal. So I guess they decided to be like to go their separate ways, and he signed with the Atlanta Falcons, which makes sense in my opinion.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, okay, Kevin Dotson gets a contract and he plays better and well. What's a player meant to do? Stand there still and not get better? I just find it funny. I find it funny, Len, when a Steelers player leaves the organization, that fans are like, yeah, we should have kept him. Bro, is he meant to stand there and put his hands behind his back and not do anything? No, people are meant to improve all the time. Like, you wait until Kenny Pickett, and we'll talk about him next. Kenny Pickett gets cut or moves on to another team, and he starts throwing 45 TDs in a a season. They'll be like, we should have kept Kenny. The same people who want Kenny out will say, why didn't we keep Kenny?
Yeah.
I'm just saying. Anyways, let's move into some Kenny talk before we get into like the will Steelers trade up or get a Russell Wilson. What are your overall thoughts on Kenny Pickett? Is he being hard done by? Maybe by Steelers fans or maybe Steelers team?
I'm going to say a little bit of both. I just feel like, listen, he did not have a good year last year. We knew that. But it was not all his fault. Not all, but like it was not. Yeah, it was not all his fault. It was the coaching of Matt Canada and of the playbook, and it was the offensive line that was inconsistent sometimes in their blocking scheme, and that's why he got hurt. He already has like 4 injuries so far: 2 concussions, a rib injury, and an ankle injury. Then I would say this about Kenny too. I think there are some times that he moves out in the pocket just a tad bit early, but at the same time, that's his specialty. And last year, they did not use that a lot, which kind of gave me a head scratcher. Then for like Steelers fans, I think they're being a little over dramatic about Kenny. Like I understand.
Well, no, Steelers fans aren't over dramatic. Are you serious?
Well,
Come on.
I'm trying to say the nice words, man. I can't like be mean to my fans out there in Pittsburgh and all around the world, but
well, it's not everyone because you said that all around the world, Australia,
right.
America, New Zealand, one of the biggest probably fan bases in the world. Twitter, you go to the bar, it's everyone. So everyone's got their opinion, and I know when you read opinion online, it does get in your mind saying it feels like that everyone said that, but they didn't. Only one person said that, but it does feel like to a certain degree people are giving up on Kenny Pickett. It's only been 2 years in. And his third year with a new OC, and you're right, he used to roll out. He rolled out in the Ravens game and found Najee Harris to the end zone. And that was awesome. And even the announcer, Chris Collins Bengleworth, said if Patrick Mahomes did that, that'd be on ESPN Spotlight. Because Kenny Pickett did it, they didn't talk about it. He rolled out, he found Najee running up, TD over the shoulder, wins the game in Baltimore, rookie year. Second year had a tough go with the Matt Canada. Look, failed experiment. No way the Steelers organization should have brought back Matt Canada. Should have a better plan. But here we are in year 3. Arthur Smith can work with the running backs. And if he can get Ryan Tannehill to play good quarterback play, I'm sure he can get Kenny Pickett to play.
Yeah, I agree. When I saw Arthur Smith, it was a little head scratcher to me, but then I realized he was the OC for Tennessee for 19 and 20. And Ryan Tannehill did not have a great year until those 2 years with Arthur Smith under the helm with Tannehill. Because look at the numbers for Tannehill. I think he got over maybe, I could be wrong about this, maybe like 80, 70 touchdowns and only like 13 interceptions maybe with those 2 years. And I mean, the passing yardage wasn't great, but the play action was their best in the passing game. And I can't wait to see what Arthur Smith can do with that offense with Najee, Warren, Pickens, Johnson, maybe, depending what they do with him, depending who's our third receivers. And so that's why I'm telling like some Steelers fans to like be patient, give Kenny another year. Let's see what this can do. Build the O line still, have him work with Arthur Smith. Then, when we get in the football field, then we will make a decision if we want to keep Kenny or not.
Yes, that's kind of one route, and there will be something that might intercept that play because the Russell Wilson talk's getting pretty fiery and fast. Before we talk about that, though, yes, Ryan Tannehill. I don't know. In 2021, he had 21 TDs and 14 interceptions. 2020, 33 and 7, and 2019, 22 and 6. So I guess Arthur Smith was involved in some of those years, maybe 2020, I can't remember. But yes, you are right in the fact that Steelers fans should be patient to give Kenny Pickett the third year. Here's the big thing, though, because I'm all for KPA. I think we give up on the quarterbacks too easily. I think Steelers fan bases, we always talk about the next guy, the next guy. If he's struggling, we go to the next guy. A lot of fan bases out there and people around the world, and even media and sports journalism, were giving Mason Rudolph no chance. And those same people this year or last year said, let's go, Mason. He's our quarterback number one. So sometimes it's very hard to make sense of it all. Were you happy with Mason Rudolph's production last year? And do you think he has a shot now? He hasn't been talked about in the last 5 days because it's Wilson or Kenny Pickett.
Yeah, I think there's a chance that he could be brought back, depending on the price. But for Mason Rudolph, I mean, when he came into that Cincinnati game, when Kenny got hurt and Mr. Trubisky got benched for Mason, I mean, he did what he did. He's been in the league for like maybe this is like his 7th year now. He knew what to do. He was under Matt
Six.
Kent.
Hmm.
Six.
I think so,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, so he already knew what the playbook was for Matt Canada because he was there when Matt Canada started, or was there when he was the quarterback coach, when Ben was still there as well. And I mean, Mason did good in my opinion, but at the same time, I think you want him back maybe as a backup, in my opinion. But if he does go somewhere else, then I wish Mason like the best of luck in his career.
Yeah, because he missed 2022, right? So he's in 2019, 20, 21, 22. So it's 6 years now. But I just find it kind of a little bit ironic how the same people who were cursing out Mason Rudolph not to start are now cursing out KP8 not to start. And in this one, you talked about in the green room off air and said, well, they need to be patient and give Kenny time. That's one thing Steel fans can't do. You talked about what are your thoughts about, going from Big Ben to our next quarterback, whoever that may be. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, first of all, it's going to be hard to replace what Big Ben did for like the last 18 years. I mean, Big Ben was one of the best quarterbacks in that generation from 2004 all the way to 2021. And Kenny does have a lot of pressure under him because I bet a lot of people, including Steeler Nation, expect Kenny to be like a Big Ben. Even probably like Mike Tomlin or maybe the Steeler organization thinks that Kenny should be Big Ben. No, Big Ben and Kenny are like two different people. Kenny is like has he moves. He was able to get outside the pocket in his rookie year and he made some play. While Ben, he just stands there and he finds the guys like very quickly. So it's different for them. And I feel bad for Kenny, what he needs to like do now
Well,
when Ben was retired.
Big Ben as a rookie wasn't always the best either. So
No.
before even when you were like younger, 2004 when he first started as a rookie, the defense kind of helped him out. And now everyone's saying that because of the Patrick Mahomes' success, is it's a quarterback-driven league. But the Steelers football, which is really kind of funny too, is some fans out there were saying we need to run the ball more. What are they doing? They're running the ball more. Therefore, you're not passing for TDs. I saw a study out there that linked that TJ Watt has more sacks, 24 than KP8's, TDs in 2 years. Those two stats aren't relevant together. It doesn't make any sense. It's like you're just grabbing one number that's higher than the other. To me, it makes no sense. I saw a stat. There were no ideas that talking about, Kenny Pickett's only got 12 TDs and that's all he has last season or whatever it was, or in his career. But they've been running the ball. Joe Warren, 10 yards out, halfback draw, boom, TD. Najee Harris chipping away to get there, TD. Red zone thing is, I think, is an issue. Red zone offense is an issue. But look who they hired, Smith. You know what I mean? Like, I think people forget, they get too stuck in the past of like what has happened, and that gives them a future prediction of what will happen. But it's like they've changed everything around. They brought in 4 receivers coaches, Arthur Smith. They pretty much cut how many starters? We just talked about the beginning of the show. And now this looks like it's going to be Kenny Pickett, going to be QB1 with some competition. Omar Khan's been doing his thing. And now this is where we're going to turn the podcast fire right up. Russell, no, actually, no, not yet. Justin Fields. What about your thoughts about Justin Fields first and then Russell Wilson next?
I mean, Justin Fields is a good athlete. When he was in Ohio, he did very well there. I think the only problem with Justin Fields, he turns the ball over like way too much. I'm not saying he gets like a lot of interceptions. I'm saying like it can be interceptions, fumbles like that. But it's not all of his fault. It's basically like Chicago's fault. Like basically how Kenny and the Steelers are right now. Justin Fields was in like a more difficult stance because I think Chicago went through like 3 offensive coordinators. In his 3 years, he had no O-line. He only had like maybe 1 or 2 weapons in his 3 years. So, I mean, Justin Fields, I mean, I'm not giving up like a lot of draft picks for him of what the Bears want from him, like a first or maybe like a second.
I've heard second and thirds. I don't think you give him anything. I think if you got a quarterback problem, which is Kenny Pickett right now, you figure that out and you don't get another one. You don't bring in 2 quarterback number problems, right? That's just the way I see it. I think the Fields talk is absolute nonsense. But the other quarterback talk that isn't nonsense is Russell Wilson, that it kind of turned in from a rumor about 4 weeks ago to yesterday or the day before that he was in the Steelers, building, having coffees and having meetings with Arthur Smith and the crew. What are your thoughts about the Russell Wilson situation? And do you feel there's any truth to him actually signing? Now, he was in the building though, but do you think there's any truth to a signing?
In my opinion, I hope he doesn't sign with us. I'm not being mean to the man. Russell Wilson's been in the league for a while and he has been playing very good football lately. But I think it's not worth of what he wants. Now, granted, he will be cheap this year, maybe 1 year for like $2 million. But you also have to remember Denver gave him $85 million when he was released from Denver. And they're still paying him $50 million this year. So if you do sign a Russell Wilson to the Steelers or any team, you got to remember this next year. You got to pay the man that a lot of money. I'm not saying like a Joe Burrow or Lamar Jackson or Deshaun Watson make a deal money deal, but maybe like a 2-3 year deal worth like $35 to like $40 million to be your starter. And I'm not wasting that type of money on him, in my opinion.
The funny thing is too, like Russell Wilson, because he's getting paid the guaranteed money. I did hear something like $40 or $50 million like for this year and then the next year as well because of the dead cap. And Denver has like a $90 million dead cap that can't be erased. Like Wilson could just sit on the sidelines. He could go home. He could just sit at home and get all that coin. But he wants to play football, wants to finish his career off and, try and win a Super Bowl, I think, to cement his legacy kind of thing in what he's done. Now, I'm always reminded of the play that he threw the ball to the Patriot and I was like, hand the ball off to Lynch and you win the game. But he's a good quarterback. I think Denver didn't work out. Him and Sean Payton didn't have a very good, relationship. I do think actually the Steelers might sign. Like when I say might, I reckon like maybe 65%, maybe 70%, just because he went to the organization and had a meeting and that kind of stuff. There's been some positive reports out there. I think Wilson said he wants to go to a club that can win a Super Bowl. Now, I don't know if we're like 1 quarterback away, but we're certainly 1 quarterback away, maybe of Wilson's, skill level to get us to the next playoff win or something similar. If he does sign, and I know you're not the biggest fan of the signing, the person you're fine with him, and I think we are too. But do you think there'll be a true quarterback competition between Wilson and KP8 if he does sign in 2 days' time?
Now, this is my problem that I'm keep telling people about, and I want to apologize to some people out there that I know and I've been talked to on the internet. I will still watch football. I even said if Russell Wilson does get signed, I would not watch football ever again. I will
I
still
saw
watch
that post, by
football.
the way. I saw
Yeah,
that post.
I was a little over dramatic, but
That's all right.
no, I don't think it'll be a competition like at all, in my opinion, because I heard like some rumors saying that the Steelers are viewing Russell Wilson as a backup. And I don't think Russell Wilson wants to be a backup. Like you said, he wants to start, he wants to play. The Even though he's getting a lot of money out, he can sit on the bench if he wants, but he wants to play football. And that's why I think it won't be a competition. In my opinion, if he does get signed to the Steelers, I feel like the Steelers just gives him the job, the number one, like the starting quarterback job day one, and he just threw Kenny Pickett under the bus. And I don't think that would be a good way or go into that direction for Kenny.
It'd be the same way what they did in 2022 when they was saying it was going to be a rookie and Trubisky, and they just put Trubisky in at number one, and they didn't give Mason Rudolph a shot anyway, and he said it the whole year. Trubisky 4 games, Kenny came in, injuries, back and forth, back and forth. Yeah, it would be. I think the fan base. I think actually the fan base would be quite positive, maybe for a change in this kind of situation where we'd be excited to see Russell Wilson play. We'd be like, oh my goodness, it's crazy. But at the same time is got to remember that Denver Broncos fans were very similar, where they were thinking Super Bowls and their ship just got rocked all over the shop. And I'm not saying Russell Wilson is going to change the entire culture. I don't think he fits that well, to be honest, with us. I have seen reports and seen him, videos and stuff where he hasn't been the most happiest player or being a bit more dramatic in that sense. I think Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph fit our culture as a quarterback, but they're still getting, Kenny Pickett's still getting his skill level. And yes, I do believe if the Steelers sign Russell Wilson tomorrow or the next day for a 2-year contract, maybe. I don't think, by the way, too, I hear this report that he's signing for a league vet minimum of 1.2. I still think signing for 5 or 6, 10, something like that. Like they'll do something like some kind of deal. Just because he can get that, it doesn't mean he'll agree to that. The guy's still a businessman, still needs to play for a new team. He's going to probably sign like, I don't know, whatever Trubisky got with the Bills, $5.5 or $6 million a year, something similar. And you're right too. If Wilson is there for the next 2 years and he's a quarterback for the next 2 years, Kenny Pickett does then sit behind. And then you're left with, in 2026, you'll have no Wilson, no KP8 experience. What do you do there at that position? But that question in 2 is still like ages away. But like the same thing, what's the long-term, future of the team? So I think it'll be exciting to bring him in and have a chance to win a Super Bowl. Just hopefully it doesn't look like the Rams, where the Rams bring in Stafford, you win one, then you suck for a year or two, and then the other Rams are like okay again. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Any other like final thoughts on that Russell Wilson? Because mate, could happen tomorrow. Any thoughts?
My luck, if I wake up tomorrow, it will happen. I'm telling you right now. Listen, like I said, I don't have a problem with Russell Wilson, but they are saying once he did met with the Steelers, like you said, he also talked with the Giants, and they said that he had
Yep.
a great meeting there. There's
Yeah,
also like
I agree.
reports saying that he's going to meet with other teams, and one of those teams is the Raiders as well.
That's my bet. If anything,
I think it'll probably be the Raiders. Now I could be wrong, but I think the Raiders, in my opinion, offensively, has more power in that offense than we do, because they got Devontae Adams still. They still got, I think they still got Hunter
yeah,
Renfrow. They still got, well, they don't have Josh Jacobs anymore.
they'll bring him back though.
Yeah, they'll
He'll come
probably
back.
bring him back for like another like 1 or 2 year deal. But like I said, I will not be happy if Russell Wilson gets signed. Now, it's not the player. It's not Russell Wilson's fault.
Mm.
I think it's the organization fault when they said, or Rooney II, Mike Tomlin, and Omar Khan saying, we have faith in Kenny Pickett, but we're going to bring in
True.
competition and everything like that. If that does happen within the next 3 days, I would not be happy. Not to Russell Wilson, but to the organization that they lied about that.
It is funny too, and I think all these podcasts everyone does, yourself included. Now your first podcast, I think you've come on the show, Steelers Nation Australia, my 1000 and whatever podcast. But what happens, kind of thing, is in a business sense, they brought a guy in for a job interview. He left, hasn't signed yet. In Steelers media and Pittsburgh media, oh my goodness, Russell Wilson's next quarterback.
Yeah,
and
that's
into that.
Yeah, it's I've seen that every day. No matter who's the player is, they'll have a meeting, they'll leave, they'll go to their next meeting that they're scheduled or they are going to meet, and it's the media. No matter who it is, they'll just say it's like it could happen, this might happen. They like Russell Wilson. We don't know that. Like you're just saying that just to get a rise or be excited for your team to be like, oh, they can do this, but I don't know. I could be wrong, but I think, in my opinion, the Giants, to me, for Russell Wilson, would not work out. They got no receivers.
No, that's a weird one to me. I was like, why would he go the Giants? That would make no sense.
We already know about the Commanders. We already know about the Bears. They're probably going to go quarterback in the draft. Maybe the Patriots. He might go to New England, but I don't know about that as well. But for the Steelers, I don't want him in Pittsburgh. I want them to develop Kenny Pickett for like another year to see. But I feel like the Raiders might be a good option for him. Plus, it's in Las Vegas, so
yeah,
I don't know.
Raiders.
I don't know.
Raiders will be a great option because for the NFL storyline versus Raiders versus Denver. You know what I'm saying? Like that already would be fun to watch. Russell Wilson versus Denver. Who was the real problem? Was it Denver? Was it him? But yeah, that's what kind of happens is if there was no internet and no phones, no social media, and we just got the reports via the news, you'd be having a coffee in, I don't know, 1978 or whatever, and you'd read a newspaper saying, 2 days ago, Russell Wilson met with the Steelers. Oh, that's interesting. Then 3 days later, Mason Rudolph signed. Oh, wow, we signed Mason Rudolph. You know what I mean? But now, because we're so connected and we're just like, oh, what happened? It is a bit of fun too. It's a little bit of fun.
Right.
Like I'm trying to hype myself down because if it does happen, I'll be like, holy smokes, the Steelers has got Russell Wilson. What's going to happen? You know, same time tomorrow or the next day, Russell Wilson goes to all the other different teams. He goes to the Raiders, and that excitement too. Because you're right, the Giants also said they were pretty happy with him too. Who else said they were happy? The Steelers. So our fan base is like, yeah, we got him. The Giants are like, yeah, we got him. You know?
Yeah. So... I hear it every day. Plus, if he does go to the Raiders, it'll be the same situation as Tom Brady when he went to Tampa in 2020. Was it Belichick or was it Mr. Brady who wins all those Super Bowls? So
we know now it was Belichick had a really bad record without Tom Brady.
Yeah.
You know? I know he's a good coach, but...
He had one good season with Mac Jones as quarterback in 2021, but after that, it was just bad. It was really bad.
Yeah, that and also like Russell Wilson, he is, I guess, maybe a better free agent quarterback than the situation with the Fields or whatever, because signed to a minimum contract or a 5-year deal and you get him on there. I would be totally shocked though if Russell Wilson did this. Would be so crazy. What if he was like, you know what, I'll sign, I'll be the backup. It's Kenny's team. I'm just here to help out. I would be like mind blown. Could you ever see that happening if he did sign that like for a quarterback number 2?
In my opinion, if he does sign to be quarterback 2, I will be shocked. But at the same time, I kind of want to see how this plays out. Maybe the Steelers said that they still want to. If that happened, maybe the Steelers told Russell Wilson, be like, hey, we still believe in Kenny. I think he can still be a good quarterback. If you can't find somewhere else, then you can come back to be the backup. But I don't know. I just don't know at this moment.
It might be like a good time. I'm not saying it's going to happen because I think he wants QB1 role. But it might be a good time for him to learn the system or sit back and, because I think it ended really poorly with Denver. And I know he wants to try and resurrect his kind of QB career. But Wilson's a good player, but at the same time, I guess he's the only one that's available that's probably the best, right? That's where I'm like, he's not the overall best quarterback we've ever seen in history, but right now, because he's the most talked about, that's why there's a lot of fire, behind it, right? I don't know. He's had his Super Bowl, he's had some ups and downs with Seahawks, he's had good careers here and there, but he's only won one out of two. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I think all this stuff is until it does get signed, and we saw Baker Mayfield today sign. I thought Baker Mayfield's turned his career around too. Did you see the Buccaneers sign Baker Mayfield for a 3-year contract?
Oh, they did. I'm surprised it took them this long to
You didn't know that?
sign him. I did not
Breaking
know that.
news.
Really, I did not know that. No,
You didn't know that?
no,
Oh.
I in my prediction, I knew like the Buccaneers were going to re-sign Baker for having like a good year with them. I'm just shocked that it took them this long. Like before free agency, I'm surprised it took them this long to re-sign him. Like,
Yeah, man, it's like a $50 million deal or something like that, or
wow, okay.
over 3 years. A bit of a cheaper deal. I can't find it on Twitter now, but yeah, I found it this morning that Baker Mayfield signed for the Buccaneers. But he also I think he's turned his career around with the Browns threw him under the bus completely by getting back Watson. They traded away Mac Jones, right? To the Jaguars.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, you know that
Yeah,
one. Okay.
I knew that part.
Okay. Buccaneers closing on a 3-year deal worth $100 million with $50 million guarantee. Amazing. So he's their quarterback for the Bucs. And that division now is, Saints and Derek Carr. I've never been a fan of him. I think he's terrible. I think they're going backwards.
I feel like when he was with the Raiders for Derek Carr, he was up and down. I mean, he had some good years, he had some bad years, but I mean, I feel like they did not have the right coaches for him. Then when they trade him or release him and he signed with the Saints, I was like, okay, this is gonna be intriguing. I think the Saints are gonna win the division. No, I was
Thing is,
dead
though,
wrong.
if the Pittsburgh Steelers were in the NFC South, we win every year.
Oh,
Like
I
that
agree.
division is the weakest division in the NFL. Like the
Just like the
Falcons are,
East, just like the East
yeah,
was.
yeah.
Oh,
Like the Falcons are a team that's like, oh boy, what's happening there? The Panthers are in really bad trouble, I think, with their organization. And the Buccaneers, they were like 9-7 when the playoffs last year or something like that. And you always see an 8-8 team. And Saints, I don't dislike the Saints, but they're always just mediocre or middle team. So Buccaneers might be able to have their future by winning, pretty much win 10 games, win the division, have a home playoff game. Baker Mayfield goes crazy. By the way, Brendan, we're going to start to wrap the show, but is there any like final thoughts you have on the Steelers? Because we're renewing quick and fast now over the next few days. What's going to happen? Are they going to sign Mason Rudolph? Are they going to sign Ryan Tannehill? Who are they getting in the next few days?
well, for the quarterback situation, they might re-sign Mason Rudolph. I'm not 100% sure. They could look in free agency. They could sign like a Jacoby Brissett or like you said, Ryan Tannehill, maybe a Jameis Winston, or maybe like a Gardner Minshew. But I feel like re-signing Mason Rudolph would be like the better option. Then I would say probably for the safety position, maybe Justin Simmons to the Steelers, pair with Minka Fitzpatrick, but he might be a little much. But I think Omar Khan will get the job done. If not, maybe Gardner Johnson would be a good one. And for a receiver, slot receiver Tyler Boyd, he comes home to Pittsburgh.
I've been hearing that one too.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any other final questions you want to ask me before we get out of here in the next 5 minutes? Anything on your mind?
Yeah, I mean, I probably have two questions. But the first one, who do you think the first 3 rounds do you think the Steelers are going to take this year? The first 3.
Any order? You want,
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Center.
Okay.
I think center, which I think might be 20. Cornerback, I think we're up there because not that I'm a draft dude, but I think what I've seen is like there's a lot of good quality players at corner. By the way, I watched them. The scouting combine was kind of fun. Like those dudes are so athletic and running around crazy, and just they're looking like they can already play in Super Bowls. So I'd say center, corner. I think right tackle we might go through free agency and then maybe Dan Moore. Oh no. What do you okay? There's questions inside of a question here. Do you think Broderick Jones moves over to left?
Yes. I think put him back in his natural position. Listen, at the start, he looked good at right tackle, but then you saw at the end of the season he was struggling. So I think the best option is move him at left. Maybe if you want to move Dan Moore at right tackle and
That's what I was
compete
going.
with someone, then I think you do that, but we just have to wait and see.
So then maybe right tackle we go via the free agency, and everyone's cutting everyone. By this chance, it's either going to be a Bronco or a Bill because half their teams are gone.
Oh, I agree.
They've cut everyone. They're cutting everyone, cleaning house. So I'd probably go center, cornerback, maybe defensive line. But I don't know. What about your three?
I would say center as well. Probably corner too. I also have them taking like tackle too in the first 3 rounds. One of those 3 rounds of tackle because you don't want to go into training camp and off season with a veteran tackle and maybe a Broderick Jones or a Dan Moore. Maybe you want to have like another franchise tackle for your team. I think there has been some names going around in the NFL draft in that position. So I think, yeah, center, tackle, and corner will be my first three.
Could they go center or right tackle first and second and really boost the O-line and go, hey, here's the O-line for the next 6 years?
I can see them doing that, but it depends like who's there at maybe round 1 or 2, like whoever's the best player. But I could see them going center and tackle in the first 2 rounds.
I reckon I haven't looked too much into it. I've been really busy, but we're getting near that. I actually haven't done any mock drafts yet at all. I don't know if I'm going to do it on the channel because I don't really know enough. So, but I've been hearing names like Jackson Powers Johnson or Marius Mims, or right tackle. Some of the dudes are there. I just say anyone that's like 6'7", 6'5", 6, sign them up. 300 pounds, put them out there. They're naturally, it's like a big wall of people. And then, see what happens. What was your other question you had for me?
Yeah, my last question is I know you said this like so many times in your channel, but what made you become a Steelers fan, and why did you become a Steelers fan?
Pretty much, man. So the big reason was I was watching, I think around the 2000s. So I was born in 1989. So I'm 34 years of age. So I'm like a 90s kid. So we had all the movies coming out, and I remember the Sega games. Do you remember what a Sega is? Do you know what a Sega is? The Sega Genesis, the dingo, made of like 24-bit or what it was. So I had some Segas, and Madden 95 came out on the Sega, and me and my brothers played that, and that was when it was like 2-bit or 8-bit or whatever it was. The ball went up, and the orange thing came over. You caught it. The whistles, the sounds. John Madden was talking to you in the game, showed you all your plays. It was football. So I didn't have a team then, but I played football in Madden 95. Then I started to watch all the movies. Like the first movie I got was The Little Giants. Have you ever seen that movie, Little Giants?
I have not, no.
It's like it's an old school one. It's like 1990 something. Two football teams, two kids. Basically, two brothers have football teams. One brother's the older brother who's like the butt head of the brothers, like the ego one saying I'm going to beat you, and then the other one he always gets picked on, and he comes back, and the Little Giants come back to win the game. I just gave the ending away, but you know what? It's been 34 years, so you got to go and see it already, right? And there shouldn't be any spoilers after 40 years. So I started watching that when I was little. One of the first movies I saw. Then I saw The Replacements. I saw Remember the Titans movie. Then I saw The Waterboy came out, and I was like, all these football movies came out at the same time. Friday Night Lights, the movie, and that was all around like 1998, 2002. In that period of like 4 or 5 years, some reason there was just so many football movies that came to Australia in America, just influx, and I was like, this is awesome. I love Gridiron. The Waterboy set the scene for me too because he was like smashing everyone, right? See red, go red, hit him hard as you can. It's filmed so awesome, like gladiators on the field. And Remember the Titans was a great film too. So I started from that. Then around the 2000s, around that, I was like, okay, I got to find a team. So it was 2002. I must have been like 12 or 13 of years of age. And I was like, all right, year 6 or year 7 in the high school, like first year of, I don't know, what's the first year of high school? Whatever. What do you guys call that? The first year of high school, junior year or something?
Freshman year.
Yeah, like of high school. Yeah. So that one. So around then I was like, oh, I watch it. I like it. I see it on TV here and there. I got to choose a team. So I chose my team based on the colors alone. I was like, sweet. Black and yellow combo looks awesome. And by the way, now, Pepper, if you're listening, Pepper out there, it is black and gold. I know it's black and gold. I thought it was black and yellow. Looks awesome. We all know by the colors in the hat. It's fantastic, right? So pretty much that's why I chose my team in 2002. I started watching the days of Amos Zeraway, Tommy Maddox, Dan Kreider, dudes like that, James Ferret, middle linebacker position, Lamar Woodley or Lawrence Timmons as we started to get up and up. And I was like, man, this team is friggin' awesome. I really got into it. My first year was Super Bowl 40. I was like, oh, yeah, yay, my team won. I didn't really understand too much. But Super Bowl 43, I was like, my team fucking won. Let's effing go. Debo Harrison to the house. Santonio Holmes, you know what I mean? He had a great drive. Like what, 10 plays, 8 catches or whatever, or 7 catches, whatever, down the field, Big Ben. They win Super Bowl 43. I was like, yes, that's my team. So it started from 2002, chose them. And then around 2008, 6 years later, when I understood more when I was like 18 or 19, that I really started to figure out who the Pittsburgh Steelers were. And I had no idea, bro. I had no idea that the Steelers had won 4 championships in the 70s. Not until like maybe 2005 when they started, showing more stuff. So, yeah. And now here we are talking football, and Russell Wilson could be your future quarterback.
I don't know. We'll see. That's all I have to say.
Yeah.
We'll see.
All right, man. But yeah, I thank you for coming on the show too, mate. Brendan, as well as your first podcast. I think you did very well. You're a very knowledgeable Steelers fan. You're a very passionate Steelers fan too. You've been very, very passionate as well in the comments. If you're one of the comments that I see all the time, if I talk about whatever or anything, you just write "Let's go Steelers," and sometimes that's all you need. There's no like, oh, I think this, I think that, and when I see you say something, I know that you mean it. You know what I mean? Because most of the comments are like, let's go Steelers, let's effing go. And I'm like, yeah, let's cheer our team on. And then when you see like a comment from Brendan saying, 1 sentence, 2 sentences, that means, oh, shit has hit the fan and you really mean it.
Yeah, I try to motivate the Steelers fan. I'm trying to motivate you no matter how I do it. I just always try to motivate them as best I can.
Nah, it's for a change. It's pretty good. Like, I think it's just fun. Like, overall, that's what my channel is built about is supporting our team. And no matter who the quarterback is, we just got through Trubisky and Canada. Like,
thank God they're gone.
Like, come on, man. Like, that is in itself. There was the one game, I think I told the channel, the one game with the Jets, I went to bed. I couldn't wake up. I knew Trubisky was starting the Jets game in 2022. And Kenny was a rookie, and he'd played all for 4 games. I was like, gonna miss it. And I missed. I'm the only Steelers fan in the world to miss Kenny Pickett's debut because I was sleeping because I was a bit had a few drinks. But I was like, I can't wake up at 3. I went to bed at 12. I do not want to wake up to watch Trubisky. And then he failed again, and Kenny came out to just lose that Jets game. But same time, he started at like halftime. Like, I was physically sick to watch, to even try and cheer on Trubisky, knowing how bad snaps the ball here, down. Like, like that's what it was.
It's
awful.
We tried that experience. I wish him the best of luck, but
yeah, so do I. But
it's over. It's
done. You wait until you see. Wait until you see. Trubisky fans, when Josh Allen goes down, hope he doesn't, but if he does, and he goes out there and scores 4 TDs, 400 yards, and then the Steelers are like, oh, we should never get rid of Trubisky.
Yeah, that's how it's gonna be all the time.
You never know. All right, mate. So we'll get out of here. Thank you, Brendan, mate, for coming on the show. It was a real pleasure talking to football with you. It was awesome. Hope you enjoyed it too. And yeah, man. So this will go out. It's Sunday for us now. Sunday for you?
Yeah, still Sunday for me.
Sunday, yeah, which is crazy. So my Monday, Make sure you stick around a bit after. I'm going to cancel the show, but everyone out there in Steelers universe, whatever happens, Kenny Pickett, Russell Wilson, whoever it may be, got to make sure we cheer our team on. And as always, guys, go Steelers. Here we go, Steelers. Here we